The River Medlock rises from moorland to the northeast of Oldham and flows for 10 miles in a southwesterly direction to join the River Irwell in Manchester city centre. In normal circumstances, it's a shallow and usually narrow watercourse. Scenically, it's a river of dramatic contrasts. In the first mile, it flows through 2 reservoirs in Strinesdale Country Park, then forms a natural boundary between Oldham and Lees. It then follows a beautiful section through the valley of Northern Rochester to the heritage site of Park Bridge, then another gorgeous section through Daisynut Country Park. Access to the river becomes a little bit more intermittent as it enters to the suburbs of East Manchester. In its last mile, the Medlock flows a tortuous course through the city centre as it was mangled to serve the interests of the canal builders, eventually trickling into the Irwell through a disused canal lock. The Medlock has its own tributary, the River Tib, which now runs entirely underground in the city centre. What's up, tributaries? Here we are at the source of the River Medlock. This is the start of yet another All the Rivers series, of which is covering the aforementioned River Medlock. I'm pretty sure that's a beaver. Yeah. Basically, starts just around Bishop's Park in Oldham, which has a pretty decent golf course, although my feet have been drenched this morning. But it's worth it because, well, it's got a lovely area up there that has a great view. It's like the monument, and you head down here and you get another interesting landmark in the source of the River Medlock. And well, I think this might be a pretty nice one to cover at the start.
Yeah, you can see that the Medlock is trickling out from under a footpath, and there's a big marshy area behind it, so that's obviously where it gets its water from. And note the reddish colour, there's a lot of iron deposits here obviously. Okay, so this is it, the source of the River Medlock. And just above where the Medlock trickles out, we found a teddy in a tree. Or is it a bunny? Well, I think it's a squirrel. Hello, well, we're here again on a different occasion, and the reason we're adding a bit here at the source is that since then I've found the Medlock Valley Way booklet, which gives a bit more information about the sites. Yippee! You can see. So what I didn't know at the time was that this is a former sanatorium, hence the fences, and I think it's now been converted into a residential development. And just beyond there is an abandoned school. I think it's still there, we'll see in a short while. The interesting thing as well about the Medlock Valley Way is that at this point we're not actually on it, because the route chooses to take the most scenic paths where it's got a choice, even if they're further away from the river itself. The Medlock Valley Way actually runs alongside that wall and then through the plantations, rather than be here where you couldn't get much closer to the river, and there is a public footpath, but that's a choice you made. I think you can still get hold of this guide from Tameside Council, and yeah, well, let's follow this path alongside the infant River Medlock. Yeah, there is another good reason why the Medlock Valley Way doesn't take this path. It's a bit of a quagmire, and as you can see here, where I said there was a derelict school, it's gone now. It's been replaced by these new houses, so I think it might have been called Badger Hay. I don't know for certain, but it's all gone now. And I think at this point we're about to cross the River Medlock, which isn't very scenic yet. A lot of rubbish from the building site has found its way into it, so we'll try to gingerly get across here. Oh, there is a bit of Yeah, the crossing's actually quite easy. Well, that's famous last words perhaps, but yeah. Here we are getting close up and personal with the River Medlock. Okay, now this is the first footbridge over the River Medlock, and it'll take us on to the first road bridge, which follows shortly afterwards. That marks the... It actually changes its name at the bridge, so it's Turf Pit Lane that side, Roebuck Lane that side, and this used to be the border between Oldham and Saddleworth, and therefore also the border between Lancashire and Yorkshire. But now Saddleworth is part of Oldham, and so it's in Greater Manchester. Now Simon has warned me of the bridge being a bit slippery, so I'm going to stop filming and start clinking to the side. Right, we're on the other side of Roebuck Lane now, and according to the guidebook, that building there used to be a shop, but I think it's just a private house now. And you can already see now that the Medlock is cutting a much deeper channel this side of the road. And the funny thing is now, this valley is not called Medlockdale, it's called Strinesdale, even though the Medlock is the river running right through the centre of it. But yeah, funny things, names of places that don't always go the way you expect them to. And a bit further down we'll be entering into Strinesdale Country Park, so it'll be a bit of dual use footage from that point. Yeah, this is looking back towards Roebuck Lane, down through the gorge, and then it's onward passage. And this is the first really scenic bit of the Medlock, although the views have been good all the way through. And looking ahead, I think we're looking into Staley Bridge here, but the river won't visit that particular town. It will go off to the west through Park Bridge and on to Manchester. And for Staley Bridge you'll have to wait till we get onto the Tame. Hello. Now we're probably going to use some of this footage twice, both for all the rivers, because the Medlock forms the centrepiece of the country park, so it's going to be very difficult to separate them out. And there isn't actually that much more to the country park than the river flowing through the two reservoirs. Yeah, we've now going to have to decide which side of the river we want to walk, because there's a choice of routes here.
No, so that one looks quite nice.
Okay.
To the one.
Well, this is just going a bit further down into the country park, and I think that's clear evidence that there was once some sort of mill or something here, making use of the Medlock's water power, but there isn't anything in the Medlock Valley Way guide to tell you what it is. We are actually back on the Medlock Valley Way at this point, and yeah, Strinesdale, the river is trickling on down to enter the reservoir, but we'll tell you a bit more about that when we get there. Right, we're on some nicely placed benches, looking over Lower Strine... No, sorry, this is Upper Strinesdale Reservoir, and the Medlock flows into it from up there somewhere, that there isn't a path close to the join. Then it flows out again into Strinesdale Lower Reservoir. And now Simon will read a little bit about it for you.
Where do I start?
The last paragraph.
Oldham and Saddleworth, Lancashire and Yorkshire, The reservoirs were built by the Oldham Gaslight and Waterworks Company, formed in 1825. The upper reservoir was completed in 1832, but the demand for water was such that a second reservoir was soon needed. This was finished in 1850, and the total capacity of the two reservoirs is 204 million gallons. Get a decent drink out of that one, then.
Yeah, thank you.